I mean, could you imagine Tyler and Zach walking down, like, on the sidewalk in LA? Just
They wouldn't be walking for very long.
They wouldn't. They would be immediately mowed down.
The Buff and the Blazer.
Welcome back to the Buff and the Blazer podcast. I'm Drew, the Buff.
I'm El Toddo. I'm the Blazer.
And today we're going to talk about the Peanut Butter Falcon, directed by Tyler Nilson and Michael Schwartz, and starring Zach Gottsagen, Shia LaBeouf, and Dakota Johnson. And right off the bat, this movie, it lived up to my expectations. I had really high expectations for the Peanut Butter Falcon. It's a movie that I heard about, I saw the trailers for, and I thought this story looks interesting. It looks like something different. And it looks like something that is kind of nice in these shitty times. Something that'll be a feel-good movie. And it hit all the right buttons, and I think that it was what I wanted it to be. It lived up to what I thought it was going to be. It's a story about characters, and it's a story about relationships and building connections with people and finding new family members and going on an adventure. And for me, this movie really worked on that level, and I really had a great time with it on the first viewing.
Yeah, I saw the trailer for this movie, and kind of similar. It was extremely wholesome and a heartwarming story.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like if you watch the extended trailer that I saw I think I was in a theater when I saw it for something, and you kind of have seen the whole movie. Like if you're looking for, something to catch you off guard, this ain't that kind of movie at all. It's more just like a great story.
Yeah.
And about just being a human. And being there for somebody who's going through something on multiple levels.
Totally.
Yeah, the acting's great in it, and I enjoyed it. It was good. It was really good, but exactly like nothing unexpected.
Sure.
If you saw the trailer, you get it.
So the trailer kind of spoiled the overall story for you a little bit.
Yeah, it was a bit darker than I expected in the trailer.
Okay.
Which I enjoyed.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's extremely wholesome and heartwarming movie.
Sure.
Yeah, in a good way.
Yeah. Speaking about that, I mean, the plot is really simple, actually. It's nothing overly complicated, but it is unique in the sense that you're following this character whose actor's name is the same name of his character, Zach. And I like the fact that you're following his journey because he's trying to seek out and follow his dream of becoming a pro wrestler. But on top of this, he's someone that, is Down syndrome, and he's trapped in this nursing home. And I found that the way they presented this story about having your aspiration and going out and taking it by the horns and trying to get it, and then encountering people along the way, was told really uniquely because of the characters they chose to tell the story, specifically Zach. And I really bought into the whole Tom and Huck aspect of the movie.
Totally.
It's a total like Southern adventure that you find out of Mark Twain.
Totally.
And for me, that was the charm of this movie. I love that it was set in the South and in the backwoods. And that on top of the characters of Zach and the characters played by Shia and Dakota Johnson, I mean, they all just kind of work seamlessly. And it's a story that I don't think we get too often these days. It's really, like you said, it's a heartwarming, feel-good movie that I feel like you just don't see a whole lot of these days.
And not in a cheesy way like a ESPN
That's a good
special.
point.
Yeah. Like where they're just, throwing something out there to make,
right.
This is like a really deep
sure
story about, the human experience. And
like
I really liked how they did it because it's so refreshing to see somebody make a movie like this where they don't have to create some big drama, you know,
Right.
to drive the whole thing.
Yeah.
You know, the drama's pretty simple and it's pretty funny, you know. He breaks out of the nursing home,
Right.
which is awesome.
Yeah.
You know, that's completely awesome.
Yeah.
And then he runs into this guy who's straight running. And it's not your classic hero story at all.
No.
It's more of like a opposites meet and conquer
Sure.
kind of thing. But I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. That was one of my fears of this movie, is that it was going to be something you'd find on the Hallmark Channel. The Hallmark,
Totally.
yeah. I mean, watching the trailer, you kind of get the sense that it could be a bit cheesy, but I was so relieved at the end to really see that it's just charming and it's a good story and it's not cheesy. It's very believable and it's something that you can buy into in terms of what happens to the characters and the way the characters are struggling with their own personal issues and demons. I think the key parts of this movie that work is the relationship between Zach and Shia's character. When they meet, Shia's character's name's Tyler in the movie. Zach by himself is already like a super charming character because he knows what he wants. He's not afraid to let other people know what he wants. And he's totally focused on achieving it. And that means trying to break out of his nursing home multiple times with the help of his friends. And those characters I love too, but we'll get into that. When he actually is able to break out and just go, and he runs into Shia's character, that chemistry they build throughout the whole film is what totally hooked me from start to finish. Like, they become brothers essentially. And then Dakota coming on, she ends up adding to that dynamic of this like found family and these family ties that they end up establishing. But it's really a story about characters and relationships that I really found to be its strong point. And I totally enjoyed it. And that's what made the movie for me. And regardless of all the crap that you hear about Shia LaBeouf in his personal life, the guy is a great actor. And to me, this is one of his best performances, I thought. I really bought into his character, Tyler. Dakota was great. Zach is, I mean, he's the centerpiece of the movie, and this movie doesn't work without him. In terms of the story, their adventure going through, like, the southern coast, trying to get to the wrestling school, it was so fun to watch, and I just, you constantly want to find out what happens next on each leg of their journey. And the people they run into on their adventure, they're funny. There's some really cool side characters that they encounter. Like I said, it's a modern day Tom and Huck movie. It's really great. Was there any scene in particular that you enjoyed?
I loved
the movie?
Visually. I loved like so much of this movie.
Okay.
The geography.
Yeah.
I actually paused the movie because I rented it on the TV and watched it. And I paused the movie about right after they showed the map.
Okay, yeah.
In the movie, and I had to look up the area,
Right.
Because I was trying to figure out where they were, and it's North Carolina, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Pamelita Sound, is that the area?
I think so.
So I
yeah.
paused the movie and went on Google Earth and freaking scoped out the whole area because visually it was so foreign to me and so awesome. You know, I'm like a desert mountain person. I never see like shots of, you know, true kind of coastal swampy kind of stuff. I really enjoyed that. And then the story is like, it's like you know the story.
Yeah.
You've read it in books and heard it before, and it's been done in other ways, and you know, even parallels like old Greek stories, you know.
Right.
But the chemistry on stage of the actors is, I think, truly genuine, and that's why this movie comes across so well.
Yeah.
But some of the scene that sticks out to me that I remember well is when they're walking on the sandbar after he wrecks the boat and shoots the holes in it. When they're like first ditching the boat right after he finds him. Right. And visually, I really like that. They did a lot of like these long walking shots.
Yeah, these extreme long landscape shots.
Very patient, you know, with with the long, wide angle shots. I really like that in the movie. There's great geography visually. It's just stunning.
The pacing of this movie, I felt it was great. There are parts that are slower, but they're not slow in terms of like you being bored. There was never a part of the movie I felt bored. I was constantly invested. But I liked how you put it, how it's very patient, the way the movie's paced and how the director takes you along the journey with them. He's not afraid to slow down at times, but even when he does, the relationship on camera is so strong that you want to be there for every moment those characters are together.
Yeah, it hooks you in real quick.
Yeah.
And holds on. You don't find yourself getting bored.
Yeah, totally. And then going back to the setting of the movie, I mean, it's beautiful, the landscape that they place the movie in. It's so nice to look at. The acting, the visuals, everything about how the movie is made technically is so well done. Once all three of them are on screen together, Eleanor, Zach, and Tyler, all three of them together, that's when the movie drives home the importance of the relationships that are established in the film. For me, Zach and Tyler by themselves, they work out great. But then when Eleanor comes along, because she already has a good relationship with Zach from the beginning of the movie. She genuinely cares about him. She takes care of him in the nursing home. She keeps an eye out on him, and he considers her a friend. So once she comes along... Kind of.
A friend, but a gatekeeper.
Yeah, she's in charge of keeping him in his...
And he's aware.
Yeah, he is.
He's aware of that, and he's conniving to get out of it. It's awesome.
But yeah, he gets all, lotioned up to get through the bars.
Yeah.
And his buddy Carl in the nursing home, too.
Yeah, I love that
guy.
I love those scenes.
Yeah, it's great.
The movie's super funny.
Yeah.
Like, it's really funny, too. It's really, like, wholesome funny.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, so going back to, when Eleanor comes along and you know that Zach, he likes her, although he may not like maybe who she works for, or that she has to keep him locked up in the nursing home. He I think considers her a friend, and once she comes along and they become a trio, that's when the movie took off for me, and I just loved the dynamic of each of the characters. And then I don't know what your thoughts were on the end, but I liked where they ended the film in terms of them kind of, I guess Tyler plans on going to Florida to become like a shrimp boater or something like that.
Do the same shit he's doing in North Carolina.
Basically, but not having to worry about...
Stealing crab pots, just heading to another state.
Right. Stealing them in Florida. So I thought that was so sweet that he wants to steal crabs or shrimp in Florida with his two new buddies. That was so sweet. But yeah, I liked where the movie ended. Going back a little earlier, I wasn't expecting the saltwater redneck to be as cool as he was. So they show up and they find the saltwater redneck.
Oh, you didn't see that coming?
Maybe not, but I don't know. It worked for me. I guess I was invested enough to where I was like, I wasn't expecting him to do that. Even when he did, it wasn't cheesy to me. So they go and find him, and he's kind of old and grizzled, and he's been out of that world for a long time. And then Tyler reiterates how much work it took them to get to him and find him, and how Zach is, dreams of going to his school and becoming a pro wrestler. And then once they head off, because, they figure the saltwater redneck wants nothing to do with it, he shows up in his fucking, what is that, a Thunderbird or something, in his wrestling bandana?
Some 80s shit.
Some 80s awful car. And picks up Zach, and not Zach, all three of them, picks him up in the car, and they let Zach, go through his wrestling training. So I thought, every aspect of the movie, like every aspect of the characters and the story were just so heartwarming and nice in the best ways possible. And I really want to drive this home that this movie is not a Hallmark movie. Because like you said, there are dark moments.
Yeah, even that part at the end that you were just talking about, that turns dark real quick.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about some of those scenes. What were some of the scenes in particular that you were saying you weren't expecting to be as dark in the movie? Because you said the trailer didn't make it seem like it was as dark as it actually was for you.
I think Shia's character doesn't get portrayed super accurately in the trailer. You kind of see the good side of him
Yeah.
a lot in the trailer, but he's doing some bad shit.
Yeah, yeah.
And that whole part where he's running, I didn't really expect him to be running from doing something just like a stupid punk kid does.
Okay.
I was expecting it to be a little more serious.
Yeah, yeah. Well, dude, it's the South. It's serious.
Well,
down there.
yeah, it's fucking serious, but like to do something that stupid is to, you know, pour gasoline all over dude's fishing gear and light it on fire.
Sure.
And then bail when they're right there. Like that part of it seemed weird to me. I was expecting him to be running from something a little more different, but that's a big part of the movie is I think the way it portrays the South is not particularly in a good light, but it might be in possibly accurate light to that style, that like coastal fishing lifestyle.
Yeah.
That part was a lot darker than I expected. The ferocity with which they were chasing him was a little over from what I expected.
Okay.
I guess I expected like an escape and then an epic journey.
Yeah.
And it is that, but the running doesn't stop.
Right. Going back to Tyler, though, so the parallels between Tyler and Zach are really kind of cool. They need each other. They both need each other. Zach kind of needs Tyler to help him get to where he wants to go. And Tyler, you know, agrees to do that. But then at the same time, Tyler needs Zach, but he doesn't essentially realize it until he gets to know Zach more. So Tyler has this whole history of, I guess he had a brother, and his brother ends up dying in a car accident. And it kind of leaves Tyler with a hole. And he meets Zach, and Zach ends up becoming like a brother to him. And they really develop this sweet relationship. And I thought that was kind of a nice little parallel of like how two characters that are running away from something. You know, Tyler's running away from some crazy crab shrimp people in the South that he totally pissed off, and now they want to kill him. Zach is running away from his whole caged lifestyle in the nursing home. And it's kind of like this collision, like that Tom and Huck thing I told you about. And yeah, it was just so well done.
Their chemistry on camera is so genuine. Those are the best scenes in the movie when they're just like hanging out doing shit.
Yeah.
By far the best.
Yeah, and I think another strong aspect of this movie is how honest and earnest it is in what it portrays.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is like, so just as an example, the character of Eleanor and Tyler, you can tell that they're kind of like developing some kind of flirtatious relationship when they first interact with each other. And so you kind of expect them to have something romantic going on. And they actually do end up kind of going that route towards the end of the movie. But even when it happens and they end up like becoming a bit of like romantically involved, it doesn't come across as something that's forced or something that's hallmarky or anything like that. It all works. It's amazing at how honest this movie is. And it's one of the most like earnest movies I've seen in a long time. And it's not ashamed of what it is. And I felt like that was probably one of the greatest strengths of this movie. And I'll say it over and over again. The characters in this movie are everything. Everyone gives a great performance. What has been your kind of exposure to Shia LaBeouf before this movie? Just talking about his character.
I've seen him, you know, in a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Nothing that I can remember super bad or super great. I mean, that Indiana Jones movie was bad, but that's all.
Okay.
He wasn't awful in it. I mean, I remember those little kid movies like Holes.
Yeah,
Holes?
Holes.
But he was awesome in this movie, man.
Yeah.
He's really good.
Mm-hmm.
Insanely believable actor, and that says something because I've seen him in a bunch of stuff, and I totally buy into the character all the way. The movie tackles some real, true human emotional problems.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Like some real life experience, human experience shit. And you can tell that he respects that in the film, and he's coming at the film from the right place.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think there would be room for people being divas and shit on a set like this.
No,
because it's some heavy subject matter.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too. You get the sense that everyone in this movie was really tight with each other.
Yeah,
and I think you almost have to be with something like this to come off as great as it did. What about Dakota Johnson? Had you seen her in anything before this?
I'm aware of her. She did all those like old lady porn movies.
50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah,
yeah, that's what I knew her from.
I did see her in something recently. Oh, I know what it is. In Bad Times at the El Royale.
Oh, right.
And she's awesome in that movie.
Okay, yeah.
She's like a badass chick in that movie.
Did you buy in?
Yeah, I bought
character?
in, and I liked it. I thought she did
a
good job.
Right.
It was good.
Yeah, I felt like she portrayed the kind of caring, more adult-minded, quote-unquote, character in this movie. And she pulls it off so well and so naturally.
And she does a good job of, portraying her moral compass steering away from her job.
Yeah.
Moral compass.
Right. And they essentially change her, I feel like.
Yeah.
She ends up becoming a little more free-spirited and open.
Doing the right thing.
And essentially that's what her character arc is. She realizes what's important at the end, which is Zach. So let's talk about Zach Gutsagan for a little bit.
Awesome.
He is the superstar of this movie.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
Freaking emotional. Can carry heavy emotional scenes. That scene in the cornfield in the beginning.
Yeah.
When he keeps asking, hey, Tyler, and Tyler like freaks out.
Yeah.
That's a really heavy scene right there.
Yeah.
And he pulls it off great. He's a fantastic actor.
Yeah, this movie doesn't work without him, in my opinion. He carries this movie almost single-handedly on his back in terms of really getting at your heartstrings. And the emotion he conveys and just the absolute sincerity that he plays, with his character choices in this movie, I was blown away. This kid is like, I hope I see him in more things.
Me too.
I feel like you can cast him in anything. He'll do a great job.
And that's a real story that they're telling, people are going through that shit.
Yeah, totally.
I had a couple of friends of mine
Mm-hmm.
just recently, about 2 years ago, had a family friend, this chick, Catherine, and she's very similar situation. She's a Down syndrome person, and she's trying to finish school, and her family was going to send her back to one of her other guardians.
Right.
And she really didn't want to go because it was her senior year in high school. So my friends took her in for the whole school year and let her graduate. And we hung out with her, and she came and partied all the time. Not like partied like we do, but, like they have a bunch of kids and stuff. So kid parties, not booze and weed parties. and so it's like I can see there's lots of people going through that all over the world. And it's really, they did a great job at telling that story because it's a real story that people are going through.
Well, and I think it's a story that a lot of people would be scared to tell. To pull off something like this, imagine pitching this to a studio and say that our main character is Down syndrome and he's going to carry this movie. Yeah. How many studio execs would you think would okay that?
Yeah, I don't know. It's like it's a hard subject to broach.
Right. And just the way they pulled it off. Kudos to Tyler Nilsson and Michael Schwartz for I felt like they told the story they wanted to tell, and I think they brought their point home about, like you said, the human condition and really bringing to light people that deal with Down syndrome and maybe what kind of everyday struggles they have on top of all the everyday problems that everyone else has, you know, and trying to overcome all that shit despite, having your Down syndrome. My hat's off to them. This is a story that I think took a lot of courage to get done, and they totally pulled it off for me.
Did you do any research? Do you know these directors?
I don't. I'm not very familiar with them.
It feels like it's a really close to home story. That's cooked up to be a bit more entertaining.
Right.
But it's a well crafted story.
Yeah.
And I'm usually not online for the cheesy, heartwarming, but this isn't cheesy at all. It's like it's a heavy movie.
Yeah.
Heavy emotional movie.
Yeah, totally.
They did a great job. If this is their kick in the door in movie, good for them.
Oh, yeah.
Or if they're like established dudes and I just don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Sorry.
No, I wouldn't say they're established at all. Before this film I hadn't heard of them. But the way they executed the movie, you would think they were established. But
yeah.
God, I feel like this is just a love fest, but that's what this movie is. It's a love fest.
Yeah.
It's
There is something I didn't like a lot about the movie, but
Sure.
we'll get to that.
Yeah, okay.
We'll get to the love hates. I'll unleash it there because I really only hated one thing in the whole movie.
Yeah, okay. Well, fair enough. So, like I said, so visually, this movie, it's beautiful. It's a moving picture. It's a moving, like, painting almost. The backdrops, the cinematography, it stuck out to me like a sore thumb. There are some of the most beautiful landscape shots, and there was a shot in particular that was like it almost looked like a drone shot. It was really high up, and you see Tyler and Zach like little ants across the sandbar they're walking across, or the ocean. It was, a lot of beautiful shots like that. One of the scenes I really liked was when they're on the raft in the evening, and Zach and Eleanor are dancing, and Tyler's just kind of hanging out watching them, and then you got the music going on in the background. Just visually, the vibe of this movie, it's really nice to look at. It's really pleasing.
They must not have a lot of rules in the South. Where we live, try going down the coast and building some crazy thing and friggin' landing on any beach you want and lighting up a giant fire and not having the cops called on you in 2 seconds. That part's a little unbelievable, but I don't know. Maybe that's how it is in the South.
Maybe
you could get away with building your crazy river raft.
It's almost like the South is a character in itself in this movie.
Or almost a caricature.
Or yeah.
Especially with the freaking wrestling stuff.
I
maybe I don't know, but man,
I definitely can't.
If that
speak
shit's
to that.
going down in real life wrestling matches like that, like I'm flabbergasted at that shit.
Yeah, I'd actually be curious to know if these directors are from the South, but
probably
I don't know. It seemed like there's a lot of inside baseball, like inside Southern baseball, that I'm just not aware of. Maybe in this movie, but who knows? But yeah, what did you think of the whole wrestling thing when they finally get to the saltwater redneck?
Freaking,
he's training Zach.
Yeah, that part was cool. And then when they have the event, it was just like so freaking ridiculous and over the top.
I didn't actually think he was gonna get to wrestle.
Yeah,
that's what was cool. That threw me off.
Yeah, and I like that a lot.
Yeah,
and that's where it gets heavy at the end there. And I love the making of the outfit for him, his entrance outfit.
Yeah.
Both when they do it for the first time,
yeah,
out at the fire on the beach, and then at the end.
I do like how they came up with his name.
I think it's hilarious.
Yeah.
It's a really funny movie, man. There was some really funny scenes where I was like bursting out laughing. There's a scene where Eleanor and Shia are talking, and the fire on the beach. I think it's right when she first finds him, right?
Oh yeah, this is the morning right after.
Yeah, and he throws her keys in the ocean,
yeah,
or in the sound or whatever. Yeah. It's kind of like brackish water, probably, right?
Yeah.
And then I forget what the line is, but he was just like, "I'm the Peanut Butter Falcon." And he starts like dancing, and he's like out on the beach, and then Shia starts dancing with him back closer to the camera. It's hilarious, man. It's so good. It makes you feel really good. There's a lot of scenes like that in this movie that are just awesome.
Yeah. And that's all Zach. That's all.
Totally.
That's him able to pull the humor off, the heart, the determination. There's even points in this movie where he's really serious. Like he's pulling off some heavy dramatic acting.
Yeah.
And it'll punch you right in the gut. But I mean, I could sit here for an hour and gush about this movie, but it's like I'm really trying hard to think of something that didn't work for me in the movie, and I'm having a hard time.
Couple things didn't work for me.
Yeah, well, let's go into that a little bit for you. I'm just curious.
John Hawkes, Duncan. He plays Duncan. He's like the villain.
That's the guy trying to hunt down.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've seen him in stuff before, and like it didn't. Whatever I've seen him before, he wasn't like a tough guy, so it didn't.
So it wasn't believable.
It didn't land super well with me.
Yeah.
And then the guy who was with him, the like all tattooed sidekick guy, I didn't like his character at all.
Right.
I would have liked to have seen maybe a more traditional Southern
Sure.
type villain.
Yeah.
As the sidekick.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Okay.
And then I'll save it for the hate, but yeah, those two characters I didn't like very much. I kept thinking about the law stuff, like just in my head, like how is he getting away with walking down the side of the road with a shotgun?
Okay.
Around like I know they have open carry down there, but like it all seemed a little.
I'm glad
flagrant.
you brought that up. I'm glad you brought that up because that is something that didn't work for me in the movie. But at the same time, see, I don't want to say that this is maybe something that works in the South because I haven't spent any time in the South, so I don't know.
I've been to like Florida on vacation as a little kid.
Well, yeah, so
That's it.
I've been to Florida on vacation, but nowhere in nowhere else. I was in Orlando, but so I guess maybe initially
Somebody's gonna be like, "That ain't the South.
Yeah, fuck you guys.
That's Florida. That's its own thing."
Fair. Sorry,
We don't know.
We don't know. Yeah, I did find that kind of weird that he's going into like mini marts with a shotgun on his back. But they do address it. Like one of the store clerks is just like, he's like, well, I mean, I'd want to talk with you, but I'm having a hard time with that shotgun on your back.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, maybe if I had one small criticism of the movie, it's maybe that I don't know, at least in California, some of the stuff just wouldn't work. And I mean, that's a given. I mean,
no, dude. The cops. I had a BB gun.
Could you imagine?
As a kid walking around up here, and I live in a rural area where people hunt and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was a kid walking around with a BB gun, and the cops would show up.
Yeah. I mean, could you imagine Tyler and Zach walking down on the sidewalk in LA?
They wouldn't be walking for very long.
They wouldn't. They would be immediately mowed down. So yeah, I want to say it's the South. The setting the story in the South that makes it work, but again, that's coming from someone that
it's got a lot of that charm, right?
Yeah,
a lot
totally.
Of that Southern charm to it.
Totally. It all works for me. It made sense to me. So it's a small criticism.
Another thing I didn't like too much was how badass of a raft they built.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was a little too badass for pulling shit out of a junkyard.
Yeah.
But I did like that whole it's very reminiscent of stories that we've heard, that whole part where they stumble onto.
Oh yeah. You God-fearing?
When they stumble onto blind Jasper John.
Yeah.
The old preacher man that baptizes them.
Yeah.
He's hilarious and an awesome character. He did a great job.
Yeah.
Wayne DeHart is great
sweet.
in it.
Yeah. And even even these side characters, they all work. They add to the charm of the movie.
Yeah, and that part of the story that's like weaved into the old, travel epics where they come upon the craziness that ends up helping them out in the long run. That's in every epic journey story.
I love his line that he gives where he says there are sheep in this world and there are wolves in this world. I mean, that's words of wisdom right there. I felt like he was the blind sage in the movie. And he does give them all the materials they need to build their raft to get them on their way. But
Shia's got some skills. He could go get a job as a freaking framer.
Yeah.
If he can build a raft like that.
Yeah.
He don't have to steal crab pots and go fishing all the time.
That just sounds more fun, though. I mean,
I don't know. I'm not much of an ocean person. But yeah, I did like that part of the story is like mystical and everything was done really well. And the religious stuff usually bugs me in movies, but this was done right. It's done perfectly within the frame of the geography and the setting, all that.
Yeah, it all makes sense within the context, I think. Another thing, so I know you're not the biggest fan of country music. Actually, no. I think you despise it quite a bit.
I do.
So when I was watching the movie and some of those songs came on, I was immediately curious to know what you thought of that stuff.
I don't really remember much of the music.
Sure.
to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah, I was bought in, so I didn't, I'm not going to let it ruin my experience. I don't like country music, but I don't remember a lot of music playing in particular.
Okay.
I'm sure there's music throughout the whole thing, but nothing that like stuck out.
It's all stuff that goes together. It's all this like banjo and guitar music. It all just backdrops the main story.
Yeah, if it's instrumental,
Yeah.
I'm quite a bit more into it, but if it's all the yeehaw singing that I'm not into.
It all works. It's all effective to me. All this like the folk tunes and stuff that they used in the background, but it doesn't blare out at you. So if you missed it, it's totally understandable. But
I missed it.
It's not there to be seen. You're there for the characters, which is what works in this movie.
I kind of wish I saw it on a big screen.
Yeah,
to be honest.
It was kind of I was bummed out because this is one of those movies that was really hard to find in theaters, at least where I live.
It never came anywhere close to me.
Yeah, I would have to drive an hour to get to the closest showing of this movie, which is kind of a bummer. I feel like people would have showed up for this movie if it would have been out in wider release, I think.
Yeah, well, there's not like big box office numbers or anything.
No.
This is more of just like a...
It's a total indie release.
Oh, okay.
Overall, I think there was a lot to love about this movie. For me, the best part of this movie is the relationship between Zach and Tyler. That was like the sweetest part of the movie, and it totally it hooked me. My favorite scene was when they build the fire. They're building the fire and dancing around. That's like,
some sacred shit right there. You know what I mean?
That's
it hits home on an emotional level throughout the whole movie, and it has a good rhythm of bringing you up and bringing you back down.
Yeah,
with that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
and some of the downtime is some of the best scenes in the movie too, when it's not supposed to be overly dramatic and it's just them having a blast, someone free.
Yeah, there's a scene in this movie that wrecked me, and it's when
emotionally.
Yeah, when Zach is lying down on the sand and Tyler's there. This is, I think, either before they build the fire or after, but Zach is saying, he wants to be the bad guy, or he's going to be the bad guy. And then Tyler's like, why do you want to be the bad guy? And he's like, well, because I'm Down syndrome.
Yeah.
Or something like that. I'm just like, man, that tore me up.
Yeah, they have some really heavy dialogue between each other.
And then the whole conversation between them when Zach is telling him like, who told you, who gave you an idea like that? And he's like, oh, my coach. And he's kind of telling him like, well, fuck your coach. You're a good person. And he's kind of driving home the point that he is who he is, and that's a great thing.
Totally.
And I love that about this movie.
And that's getting back to just them, tackling a really heavy topic and hitting it square on the nose.
Sure.
Perfect.
Yeah, totally.
Because it's just representing that he's just a human trying to do his thing.
Yeah.
And that's, who gives a shit what anybody else thinks, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
And they do a really good job of landing that point and making it not a sympathy story.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's important.
It's not.
Yeah. This movie is not about like, look at this guy, he has Down syndrome, feel bad for him.
No.
No, cuz Zach has all the drive and motivation on his own. Like, he knows what he wants and he's out to get it. He's not fucking around, and that's one thing I really appreciated about it. That scene in particular on the beach between him and Zach, that was probably my favorite part of the movie. I love that part of the movie. Hates, for me, there's nothing I hated about this movie. There's nothing to hate about this movie. I think it'll work for kids, it'll work for adults, it'll work for people who like extremely dark movies. I was pretty sure you were going to like this movie. I wasn't 100% sure, but just the fact that it worked for you, because the last episode we did, Star Wars does not work for you. It's ultimate cheese. I know it's a different genre. So I felt like your standards were a little higher in terms of how this movie would hit you, and just the fact that it did, that makes me happy. I'm glad it worked for you.
I'm not a heartless asshole, man.
No, you're not. I'm just saying, like,
I just don't like Star Wars that much.
Yeah.
Love's in this movie for me. Like you said, the chemistry between Shia and Zach, or Zach and Tyler.
Yeah.
It's really genuine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It doesn't feel like they're acting, and they're probably not. You know, they're probably total homies.
Yeah.
In real life, and that's awesome. Visually, I loved everything about the movie.
Yeah.
The way it was shot, it really did it for me.
Right.
And sometimes if a movie's visually really good, but the storyline sucks, you know, I'll still like it. But this kind of, the storyline didn't suck. It was impacted. It was predictable, kind of, but like I said, because it's a story we've all heard before.
Mm-hmm.
But the scenery, the chemistry between the actors is, you know, why to see this movie.
Sure.
And what I hated about the movie, I already mentioned the two dudes. Not that I hated them that much. It just didn't rub me the right way.
Yeah.
The last scene, the freaking wrestling scene.
Okay.
When spoiler alert, when Zach is like getting beat and stuff, it's like kind of hard to watch. It's making everyone uncomfortable, and that part of it's all good.
Mm-hmm.
But the triumph is so fucking cheesy.
Okay.
Like, I get that he's insanely strong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
you're saying when he does the lift over.
yeah, when he picks him up,
Yeah.
you know, full clean to the ceiling.
I'm trying to remember
You
what
know
they
what I
call the
mean?
move.
I can't remember.
The atomic throw.
Is that what it is?
I think that's what it's called.
But yeah. Oh, is that the move?
That's the move that he wanted to learn.
Okay,
from the
yeah,
saltwater,
I forgot that part. How? Yeah, he's like, oh, nobody can really do that. It's all camera angles and shit. But like, they could have done that a little better.
Okay.
It was like so cheesy. It looked like a guy freaking photoshopped the big guy and cut him in half and put him like this.
Yeah.
Like, they could have made him attempt to bear the weight of that man a little more realistically.
Okay.
And that could, like, with what you can do with like action these days.
Yeah.
You know, it could have been. It was way too much in slow-mo for me.
Okay.
At the end.
Yeah.
And then it's just too unbelievable.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, you
fair.
could have made him do a massive thing.
Sure.
That's much more believable, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's fair.
You know, you could have put a little more effort into it, not scissor cut out the guy and put him on top of the stick figure with two arms, like you could do with two pieces of paper, because that's what it fucking looked like. That's what I really didn't like about the movie. And then the overall ending, the resolution, it's like, yeah, you got to do it like that.
Okay.
You have to.
Yeah.
You could have, and spoiler alert again, at right when, you know, Zach is doing his atomic toss or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
I thought he was going to throw the big man into the Duncan.
Yeah.
Incoming with the tire iron.
Right.
I thought he was going to throw him and knock out Duncan.
Okay, yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
I kind of
like my
too.
mind went to wrestling. It's like, oh, he's going to toss him over the ropes and he's going to land on Duncan.
That would have been super cheesy.
That would have been. That's where I thought it was going with how cheesy the freaking thing was. I'm glad they didn't go there.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, for example, the shot of him getting in the head with the tire iron.
Yeah.
Like, that looked crazy realistic.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they cut right then.
Yeah, that was pretty brutal.
That
too.
looked really good.
Yeah.
You know, it's probably a rubber tire iron or whatever, but it looked really good.
Yeah.
Why can't the scene that's going on 6 feet away look somewhat realistic?
Yeah.
You know, why does it have to be that cheesy?
The only thing I could
and like the big man is just holding his legs totally stiff. Like, get the fuck out of here. That guy can't hold his legs up like that.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. Yeah, that's interesting you say that. I mean, not that I'm trying to justify the scene or anything. The only thing I could imagine maybe is that maybe the directors intended it to look that way because they were overemphasizing the iconic moment. That maybe like
it's too much. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe visually
it is a superhuman thing that he's doing.
Like maybe they were trying to emphasize it, how ridiculous it is because it's like his glory moment.
Yeah, but it could have.
But still, I totally get where you're coming from.
It could have been a little more realistic.
Yeah, totally. I get you.
Like their stuntman.
Yeah.
Or stunt coordinator could have thought something up a little better than what they did, I'm sure.
Yeah, but then to go back to what you said about him being Tyler being hit in the face by the tire iron, that was so brutal that I wasn't even sure he was gonna recover.
Well, I was thinking right away. I was like, "Oh, dude, these these guys are badass. They're gonna kill this guy off.
Yeah.
That's a ballsy way to end a movie. You
That's
know?
what I almost thought that was going to happen.
And I would have been totally on board if they did it that way too.
Yeah.
But you gotta freaking
Sure.
bring it back around.
So the ending for you was okay. It worked.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay, that's
It
good.
would have worked either way for me.
Yeah.
And I don't think I would have liked one way or another. I was so invested in the movie that I probably would have not liked the ending that I would usually prefer.
Right.
Like the bad ending.
Yeah.
Where the hero dies kind of
Mhm.
shit.
Sure.
But this, I probably would have had a worse reaction. But right when he hit him with the tire iron and they're in the hospital and she's crying and stuff, I was like, fuck yeah, these guys got some balls. They're gonna kill him. But then I found myself emotionally and be like, oh sweet, he's still alive. You
Yeah.
know,
That's the same reaction
that
I
makes
had.
my tummy warm. You
Yeah,
know?
it's great. I mean, he's jacked up. That's,
Oh, yeah.
He's like all bruised in the face, and you see his hand come over the seat of the car. But yeah, I totally bought into the ending too. But I liked how they actually caught me off guard, and I wouldn't have been surprised if they killed him, because that's the way they made it seem when he got hit.
Yeah, they play it up.
Yeah.
They play it up well.
So even with stuff that you think you expect, it might not turn out that way in this movie. And the moments that you're totally expecting that end up happening, they're done so in a way where it's not super cheesy. It's like, I think it's done in a way where you still feel good, even though you might expect it, which is the case when the saltwater redneck decides to, come out and get
I
him.
like that actor a lot.
Yeah, he's everyone was so well cast in this movie.
Thomas Hayden Church.
Yeah,
I like him a lot.
the casting director needs to get super kudos for this movie. It was awesome.
Yeah, it's a small cast,
Yeah,
but it's really
a bunch of gems in the cast.
everybody's fits
Sure.
real well.
Yeah.
I want to know, how can people like run away to a new state that easily? Not saying like the physical act is difficult, but like how you run away from all your bills and your job with the freaking social services department, and
Yeah.
like I would think
Yeah.
the cops will be coming after.
Yeah, to be fair, it's a lot of the very practical parts of the story that you question.
Yes,
But the story is so well done. It's like it's so well, the feeling you get from the story, you forgive it. It's kind of it's weird. It's weird in that way. But yeah, it's all the real practical things that I question. Even in terms of like, can you actually get down the coastline on a raft like that?
well, that's what I was checking out on Google Earth.
Is that
I
even
was like,
possible, do you think?
I'm sure it's possible, but
Okay.
I mean that stuff doesn't bother me as much.
Yeah.
I originally thought the movie was in Louisiana right when it started.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And then when he said, I'm going to whatever,
Aiden, yeah.
North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
And then Shia pulled out the map, and you couldn't see the map in that shot.
Yeah.
And he was like, I'm going to Florida, and Aiden's on the way. I'll drop you off there. And I was like, well, if he's in Louisiana, he's going to Florida. North Carolina's not on the way. Like, what the fuck's going on here? And that kind of stuff gets into my head, and then I'm like starting to second guess. So right then I was like, what kind of geography these writers grow up with?
Yeah.
But then when they had the map that showed where it was, and then I looked it up, and I was like, oh, that's sweet. That's cool.
Yeah.
It was really cool. That part of the world looks gorgeous. Looks gorgeous.
Yeah, they made it totally look like a place I'd want to see. I mean,
I probably wouldn't want to go to a backyard wrestling match there.
No.
But I'd like to float a raft down one of those rivers.
Yeah, no. Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, overall, the movie, it does what I think it set out to do, what the director set out to do, is deliver a feel-good story about love, conquering your demons, going out, getting and grabbing life by the horns, and fucking going out and going for it, getting what you want, along with all the struggles that go with that. But the charm of the characters, the overall story, the Tom and Huck aspect, being set in the South, the visual storytelling, this movie is so well done. I'm going to give this a 4.8 out of 5 buckets of popcorn. I want to be real reserved on the 5s I give, but I couldn't fault anyone for giving this a perfect score if they wanted. But yeah, 4.8 buckets of popcorn for me.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I echo all the same things. It's the setting, the characters, the actors, the story. It's all done really well, done really mature and entertaining and hilarious, which I liked the most out of the movie. It was funny as hell. For such a heavy movie, it made me laugh my ass off, and I love that about it. I give it 4 bong loads.
Sweet.
And this movie's such a feel good thing. Just smoke whatever makes you feel good, or eat whatever makes you feel good, because it's that kind of movie. You know, whatever kind of cheap is your fancy, your favorite, the good. That's what you need for this, because that's what this movie is. It's all about feeling good.
Well, yeah, I can't argue with that advice. So, thanks for joining us again for another episode of the Buff and the Blazer podcast. We'll catch you next time. Take it easy.
Later.